Welcome everyone. Let's begin our lesson for today by going over the learning goals and success criteria. First, what are we learning? We're learning how to determine the placement of various numbers on the real number line and how to find the relative position of real numbers that are undergoing mathematical operations. How are we learning it? Through the real number line notes and the real number line assignment. When can we use this? To organize thoughts and ideas according to a given structure, such as planning out the events of a day based on time, duration, and number of tasks. How do we know we learned it? By getting a score of 4 on the real number line assignment. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. We will begin by going over our learning goals and success criteria. While we do that, you'll fill out your Get It Started. Once you've completed your Get It Started, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. After that, we'll go over the real number line notes, and then I'll give you time to complete the real number line assignment on Desmos. Once you've completed the assignment, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. At the end of class, we'll go back over our learning goals and success criteria while you fill out your before you go. Your only homework for tonight is to work on any incomplete assignments that you may have. Let's take a look now at the real number line notes. Our notes begin with the learning goals and success criteria. What is the real number line? The real number line represents an infinite line that represents all real numbers. So note that all real numbers can be plotted on the real number line. So even pi, e, square root of 2, any of those numbers can be found on the real number line. The only numbers that can't be found on the real number line are complex numbers or imaginary numbers. So recognizing relative position on a number line. So I have x and y here, and x is smaller than y. And if we look at the distance here, it's kind of close to -2, but both are between -1 and -2. So if I wanted to find the product of these two, so product means multiplication, right? So if I wanted to multiply this, so let's multiply two numbers together and kind of check this. So this one's kind of close to -2, and this one's kind of close to maybe -1.5. So let's go ahead and multiply. We know that when we multiply two negative numbers, it's going to be positive, so we know it's going to be over here somewhere. And if we take this and say, okay, it's kind of close to -2, so -7/4 is close to -2, and this is about -1.5. So if we multiply those together, we get 21/8, which is a little over 2. So we would go to 2 and then go a little further and plot our point somewhere over here. This is where our product would be. And we can look at several more examples of this. So here we have two numbers. This time they are both between 0 and -1. Well, again, we know that they're both negative, so it's going to be positive. And they're both between 0 and 1. So let's try -3/4 and -1/2. Now that's not exact, but we're going to just try those two numbers to see generally where we're going to end up. So when we multiply them, we get 3/8. So it's going to be really close to 0 here. So somewhere right in there should be my product. Now we can do the same with quotients. So we have these two here again, and we know that when we divide them, it's going to be positive because a negative divided by a negative is positive. So we're going to use what we had before. So we called this one -7/4 and this one -3/2. And when we divide them, we get 14/12, which is really close to 1, just a little bit past 1. So it should be somewhere right around here. Now what about this one with the two numbers between 0 and -1? Well, again, should be positive because when we divide two negative numbers, we get a positive. So it should be over here somewhere. And we use -3/4 and -1/2. And when we divide them, we get 6/4, which is a little more than 1. So it should be somewhere like here. Let's talk now about how to sign in to Desmos to complete your work. So what we're going to do is you're going to click on the link to go to the assignment, and it should take you to a page that looks kind of like this. And right here where it says sign in with Google, we're going to click there. And it's going to pop up with our email accounts. You're going to click on your school email account, and it should already have you logged in because you should have already been logged in using Google Classroom. From there, I'm just going to click start the activity, and it will take me into the assignment and allow me to begin. So that's how you will log in to Desmos using Google. Let's take a look now at the real number line assignment. The assignment begins with the learning goals and success criteria. If we scroll down, there's a link here that takes us to the Desmos activity. Go ahead and click on that link, and it should take us to a page that looks like this. We're going to go ahead and click Start the Activity. Now the activity begins also with the learning goals and success criteria. We'll go ahead and click Next. And it gives us some number lines and asks us to state where the product of those two are. So let's go ahead and do that. So we look at this one, we have x and y, and they're both negative, and they're both smaller than -1, and probably between -1 and -2. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we have two numbers that are negative, so we know we're going to end up being positive. And if we were to pick out numbers, so this is maybe, let's call this is really close to -2. So let's just call it -2, just to try it. And this is about -1/2. So if we were to multiply those together, well, when we do that, these cancel out, and we end up with 1. Now, this isn't quite -2, so it's going to be a little smaller than that. So we should be a little smaller than that over here. So it should be really close to 1. No? So somewhere right in there. So there's our product. And we'll do the same thing for this one. We'll multiply x and y times each other, and then find the spot on there where we think it would be, and then go ahead and plot our point. Then we'll click Next, and we'll continue to do this for each of them. So we'll continue to answer all these questions until we get to the end. Once we get to the end, we'll go back to our Google form and click Next. This will take you to your Before You Go. Go ahead and fill out your Before You Go and then submit your work on Google Classroom.